Good morning. Welcome to Politics and Power on TSLNIGERIA TV. It's 130 days to the 2023 elections, and a few weeks back, INEC gave the green light for political parties to go all out to campaign to woo Nigerians so that they can vote for them in the forthcoming election. One would expect that at this point in time, the political space should be heated with issues or the manifestos of these political parties or the candidates that are vying for these positions. But we are still surprised that at this point in time, we are still dealing with primordial issues like that of ethnicity, religion, and so on and so forth. On our show this morning, we'll be looking at the role of tribalism as it affects the 2023 election. As always, I have with me the erudites, Fares Okpere.
Thank you very much, sir.
Congratulations, and congratulations on the birth of your baby girl.
Thank you very much, sir.
I wish you gave birth to the child on election day. So I will call the child democracy baby.
That would be very good. Thank you.
Now, like I said in my introduction,
Yeah.
the election is just 130 days away. I'm surprised. I was thinking at this point in time, we should be asking these candidates to tell us the pathway, because there's one thing I like about them, even the APC, the representing presidential candidate that is currently in the ruling party, was surprised. He has also agreed that things are not okay for us as a nation. Yes. So which means that all the candidates, they have an area in which they've agreed, and that's the fact that this is not the Nigeria of our dream. Yes. But I was thinking that at this point in time, we should be engaging these candidates with issues, asking them, how do you hope to take us out of this situation that we are in as a nation? But we're still surprised. We keep hearing things about religion, the Muslim ticket, the Muslim ticket, Muslim-Christian ticket, and so on and so forth. Please, what's your take on this?
Well, I will start by letting our viewers know that today, Americans are going to the poll for the midterm elections.
Yeah.
And they've been campaigning all the way down to today.
Yeah.
For the Senate and the House of Representatives, they will be going to vote. Elections will start today, and they'll be casting their vote today. Yeah. That's the early voting system that they're using.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that if you see all to the build-up of that election, the issues have been the prices of gas that has been increasing, prices of basic commodities that have been increasing in the US. Their foreign policy has been driven by the issues happening around Russia and Ukraine. So you see that everything they've been discussing are the issues
that they are facing as a nation.
Yes, as they are facing the issues. And they are looking at those who are profiling solutions to it, who are saying, okay, we can deal with this inflation.
And this is how we'll deal with it.
This is the road to recovery and all of that. Those are the issues that the candidates are telling the people. But let's come back home. We are faced with high unemployment. We are faced with double-digit inflation. We are faced with poverty. We are faced with youth restiveness.
With everything bad.
With everything bad. And what you hear from the people here, the candidates, have promoted issues. Issues about a certain unifier having wives from all corners of the country, like he has an Igbo wife, he has an
Can you imagine
wife.
somebody even campaigning with issues like that?
Yes.
That are married to wives from the four corners of the country.
Of Nigeria.
So for that reason, I'm unified. The way I've been able to bring my wives together, that's how we bring you together as a nation. And somebody is seated and clapping for this person.
Exactly.
So that's what we need as a nation.
Exactly. So that's where we are right now. And it's good as we just kickstarted. Let's show our viewers a video that of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar talking at the campaign venue in Kaduna State.
I think what the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north and who also understands the other parts of Nigeria and who has been able to build bridges across the rest of the country. This is what the northerner needs. He doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. This is what the Northerner needs. So I believe I stand before you as...
Okay, so that was a brief video of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar speaking at a campaign rally in Kaduna State. And he was telling the audience there that, you see, that the Northerners should keep power with them in the North, and that there's no reason for them to vote anybody that is not a Northerner, that they should vote for only Northern candidates, and that the Igbo man or the Hausa man, the Igbo man or the Yoruba man doesn't mean well for Nigeria and all of that. And you see, when politicians start to drive these kind of narratives, it tells you that they have no solutions to the myriads of problems that we face in Nigeria. And that's where we are.
You see, sometimes I use this word, and I only like sticking to it, that the leadership you have in a nation is a reflection of the followers you have in that nation.
I agree with you.
If you look at the environment where this man gave that speech, in the North, forget it, no matter, they don't care what you have to offer. All they want to know is that, are you from their tribe?
Yes.
Are you a Muslim? Those are the terms. Those are what you use. Those are issues you use to campaign in that part of the world. Sometimes I don't even blame these politicians, because you get to a place, if it's what you demand from your leaders, that your leaders will present to you.
Yes.
An article cannot go to the North in that kind of environment and begin to tell them
about economy, about infrastructural development. This thing will sink. You see, apart from we talking about poverty, illiteracy is a major issue with us as a nation. Because even the so-called, if you move down to the South, a place where we feel we have a lot of these educated folks, you see what they do online. You begin to wonder, you ask yourself, are you sure these guys, they went through the 4 walls of the university? Because apart from you just coming out from school in the first class, you having good grades, what education does is that it has a way of working on your mindset. So if there's no transformation as far as your mindset is concerned, to see things differently, yes, you might be in Nigeria, but you should have a global mind. Is this how things is done globally? Because if you, as a Nigerian, you still act like a Nigerian, forgetting the fact that the world is a global village, which means that you have the world to compete with. You don't even have Nigeria to compete with. It's not Nigerians that are moving from, Nigerians are moving en masse from Nigeria to the United Kingdom. Yes.
And I saw a report online which a few weeks ago that a lot of persons were complaining that, a lot of Nigerians were complaining that life in UK is difficult to. I said, how will it not be difficult? That's medical. Some doctors complaining that life in UK is difficult to. They didn't know that. They didn't know that this is how difficult it is. Yes, it's difficult because you as a doctor in Nigeria, what do? You go to a hospital, you see them, they sit down, they gist. They don't do anything. But in the economy where they are, in the climate where they are now, if you are going to pay £1, you must work for that £1 that
you must account for it.
You must account for it. A man told me about, he went to a shop in the United States, and actually his friend that got a job as a salesman, or sales rep in a mall in the United States. He said when he got there, he was surprised. The counter where he is to sell, there is no single chair, which means that if you come to that place to sell, you will sit for the 6 hours. You will stand for the 6 hours. He was asking. He said, no chair. He said, come on, which chair? They are paying you for 6 hours. That's 6 hours you are meant to work. You are meant to do the work, but that's not solved with us in this nation. So it is quite that the problem, apart from poverty, illiteracy is an issue we must deal with. No wonder our leaders, they are not concerned about education, because they know that a nation that is liberated in terms of education,
will not take
in terms of literacy, they won't take the kind of rubbish.
That's true.
Because I'm surprised, students, as they have been on strike, students have been on strike, as they have been on strike for the past 8 months, they just call off strike now. And, well, students are back to school. They will assume nothing ever happened. Surprisingly, we are seeing universities releasing timetable for exams. And the student will rush to class to go and write the exam. What are you going to write?
Yes.
You see, as a nation, would they just throw these things at all? We accept it. That's, man.
So I like to anchor something on what you said about that when politicians, particularly in Nigeria, when they come to the South, those northern extraction, you see, if you go to some parts of Benin, you see that they started erecting billboards, particularly that of the PDP candidate. And you see that he's all dressed up in a fine suit and his, the billboard is looking very flashy and very, the message is very clear. Will solve the economic problems. And then if you go up north, it's a different story.
Yeah.
The billboards there is dressed very traditionally in a Muslim turban way, and then the message there is not about the economy, it's not about this thing, it's mainly about religious issues and tribal issues. And it reflects in the campaign. People want to hear the things that they feel comfortable about. And who are those paying the biggest brunt of these things are those in the north as well.
Yeah.
Poverty is twice, is higher in the north. Education is lower there. The people are less educated. Illiteracy is higher there than the south. Recently, there was polio cases that was, the polio that have been dealt with in Nigeria. There were recent cases of polio again in the north. And all of these who are bearing the brunt of this maladministration, it's people from the north. They still have the highest number of the poorest people in Nigeria. And the reason is not far-fetched. You can't develop a system where the only thing you want to hear from those who sit over your commonwealth is religion and tribalism. When they continue to sell religion and tribalism to you, they use it to cover up for the lack of infrastructure that they were unable to provide, the lack of education that they were unable to provide. And these things, it boils into the society. Look at what happened when the girl in the university in Sokoto was brutally murdered inside the university. It tells you how much this kind of religious intolerance and all that has been pumped into the population, particularly in the north, over the years has come, the result is starting to show from how young people who are even getting education, tertiary education for that matter, can act in that way. Imagine what those who didn't even go to school would do on the markets in Sokoto or in Zamfara or in Kano. So it tells you how much the northern populace have been suppressed over the years with issues of tribalism and religion over the years, and it hasn't paid off for them.
You see, two things that will hinder liberation of any society is religion and culture. And those are the two weapons that the so-called elites in the north, they are using to fight their people. Religion and culture. I don't know if it's easy for us to sit here and just analyze these issues because we feel we demand better from the northerners. We think they need to know that things are not okay for them. Have you seen somebody that has been brainwashed over time? Where, as you're growing up, there's this ideology. I have an instance I was discussing with somebody. Growing up in my house, it's only recently I started eating ram meats. You know ram now?
Yes.
As sweet as ram meat. I started eating ram meat only recently. Why?
You missed a lot.
Growing up, my dad, because we had a neighbor that attended Cherubim and Seraphim Church, they kill this ram. So my dad, he works in the same place with my mom. So when he's leaving the house, they will tell us that in our family, they don't eat ram. That if you eat ram in our family, you will have hair all over your body. That's what they sold to us. So growing up, we just feel that, because if a man tells us don't eat ram meat, we'll eat ram meat and we'll cooperate, we'll not tell him. So he made us to believe that eating ram meat will make us grow hair all over our bodies.
And you swallowed this hook, line, and sinker.
And so everybody in our house just know that, when they ask me, say, we forbid ram in our family. Oh. So you will keep telling people. So it has been passed from one generation to another that in our family, they don't eat ram. Because if you eat ram, you have hair all over. That's the idea of one extremist called my father. That's the same thing that happened in the north. You see this imam, these afar, this so-called, they have a way of indoctrinating you, letting you know that there's no need for you to aspire, that is everything about your life is tied to your culture, is tied to your religion. Even the so-called ones that you think they are educated. We see them on social media that I don't want to complain, you know them that the former, when the Twitter man, the popular northerner on Twitter. Yes. You see the kind of tweets the man will release, we're wondering, this man is educated. You see some things, you see them, they speak good English. Yes, and they have good accents. You see when they are talking, you will know this man is educated. But he will be speaking rubbish. You don't even know rubbish that you will know that this is not how an educated man should talk. So religion culture are tools that these elites in the north are using to deal with their populace, and it's not helping them at all.
So over the weekend in Kaduna State, the Northern Elders Forum, chairman of the Northern Elders Forum, Professor Anglo Abdullahi, was speaking to some traditional rulers and some of the leaders in the north, and he was emphasizing that power should remain in the north, that even after the next 8 years, that they should still consider power remaining in the north. So I was just going to play a video of Professor Anglo Abdullahi where he was speaking in Kaduna to the viewers.
We will lead Nigeria the way we have led Nigeria before. Whether we are president or vice president or whatever, we will lead Nigeria. Not because we are better than anybody else, but because if you are doing a democratic game, the votes say vote who you want. We have the majority of the votes. Why do we need to accept a second-class position when we can fight for and get a first-class position? Why? Why does anybody need to threaten us and cajole us and intimidate us? If you don't bring the presidency here, you will see. Okay, let's see. We are willing to see. But when we get that power, in the name of God, be humble.
So, Mr. Karisi, as we were saying, this is a professor from the north. So when you have those who are even educated selling that line, that very archaic, tribalistic line to the people, it's a cause for concern, because if you see probably a bike man or a farmer, dragging these kind of lines, you can say, okay, maybe he's not educated. But when you see a professor, a learned professor, who is now coming out there, he's not talking about the failed economy in the north. He's not talking about the massive flooding that Nigerians are facing, with, particularly in the middle belt of the country right now. He's not talking about the insecurity that the north is facing. A lot of them in the north cannot go to the farm anymore. A lot of the children cannot go to school. Many of the girls' child cannot go to school. And right now in the north, there are more than 12.5 million kids out of school. 12.5 million. That's almost the population of Ghana out of school in Nigeria. And you have this kind of population, an army of young boys and girls who are not going to school, who will end up becoming illiterate. In the next 10, 20 years, they'll have nothing doing, because the world has moved beyond a stage where you can just be a stark illiterate. And you have professors in the north who are not even seeing all these things. And what they're talking about is about the need for the north to keep power because it is turn of the north, or because the outside man has to hold power. So this is a cause for concern. What do you think?
Mr. Fares, I feel your pain. You see, what I see here is sheer arrogance. And I don't blame them. You know I don't blame them. I've studied elections in Nigeria, and I've discovered that it takes a lot for you to become the president of Nigeria. For a long time, President Buhari, who was then the champion of the North, tried to be president. He couldn't do it alone. There was a ceiling he couldn't break. 15 million, he couldn't break that ceiling.
Yes.
For a long time, he needed the South for him to become the president. Are we going to blame him? Sometimes the North, the reason why they see them, they talk the way they talk, it's arrogance, and they feel that they have the numbers. But if you analyze it, you don't really have the numbers. No, they don't have the numbers. You know what the North they have? They have commitments. They are disciplined. Those are things you don't find in the South. If you check, go to the North now, you see the way everybody, they are rallied around their candidates. Is their champion in this election. You see all the professors, you see all the cultural groups, see all of them. To them, the language is, we want to retain power. But you don't have the same in the South. Nobody. You don't, never. Everybody, even in the South, that's why you see snitches. Because they don't really understand what politics is.
And what's at stake?
Well, what's at stake? They just feel that this is mere political party things. No, this is the fight of your life. This is a fight for religion. So if the North, they've done their 8 years, and fairness demands the South to have it. In short, in the first place, I don't think the PDP should even have fed a Northern candidate. In the first place.
Yes.
In the first place, there's no need. But you saw what happened during their primaries.
I agree with you.
You saw the power play in their primaries. Yes. It's actually a sheer calculation. They can sacrifice their ambition for their brother, but you don't have same in the South. In the South, where it's filled with snitches. And you see our youths, they can be bought. It's difficult to buy a northern youth. If this is the direction their leader asks them to follow, that's the direction they will follow. But in the South, forget it. Leaders, they know they don't have followers. Because today they can be for 8, tomorrow they can be for B. You talked about Articles B board all over Edo State. Is that not so? Okay, go and check if you see maybe Tinubu or Obi's B board in the north. They'll pull it down. They'll pull it down. You know how they'll pull it down? They'll pull it down because they feel that you can't come and do anything here in our own part. I'm not saying we should not have, we should not be tolerant, but I'm just saying that we, the Southern, if we decide and say, this is our turn, I don't want to use that Yoruba slang, but this is our turn, this is time for us to bring power back to the South, I think we'll get it.
Okay, but I think the Yoruba slang you want to use is probably a local, which...
No, we should actually favor one particular candidate. But I just feel that this time around, for fairness and equity, we should be talking, we should not be talking about, what's it called? We should not be talking about religion, Muslim, I don't care, because religion does not have any role to play.
Yes.
But because we are discussing ethnicity, we are just saying it's only fair for power to return to shift to the South. When we are done with our 8 years, we return it back to the North. It's better, you know why? If you are there, let's assume the Northern Buhari did what he can do for the North. Let the Southerner come and do what he can do for the South. That's fairness. That's equity.
Okay, talking about doing for each area, but what we Nigerians want is a system that works for everybody. And that is where the politicians don't seem to get it. They are very far off when you raise this kind of argument. If we have a Nigeria that works for everybody, a Nigeria where the army of 40 million unemployed youths are working, they are productive. Look at China, look at Indonesia. They've been able to channel their energy into producing things. They started by producing very cheap things, but today, 70% of what the world uses is produced from China. Yeah. And they now have the highest number of billionaires, they have the highest number of richest people in the world because they've been able to drive an economy that is driven by production. In Nigeria, we have a huge army of young people with the energy to produce, with energy to work 8 to 5 every day. Many of these young people who are currently sitting at home doing nothing or roaming the streets, if they were engaged, properly engaged, we will not only be the giant of Africa, we will be one of the giants of the world because we have the numbers. We have over 200 million people with over 40 million youths that are not doing anything. That's a big number.
I can't understand. I think, Mr. Fares, you need to understand that you cannot, the economy you're talking of now, you're talking about digital economy.
Yes.
Good. We cannot have a leader with an analog mindset trying to lead a digital economy. It's not possible. If you even look at it, that will bring us to the issue of age now. That's an area I don't want to go into.
No, we can go into it all the time.
I don't want to go into the issue of age.
We can go into it.
It looks as if there's a law, an unwritten law that we don't even know of that stops the young from assuming leadership position. I'm not talking about young, I'm not about young in terms of age. People that have young mindsets, people that are digitally inclined, not these old young guys that we see in some states that are governors that thinks even more backward than the so-called old men.
Yes.
So it's difficult for you to have an economy move from where we are now to a digital economy where we have young talent. You see them, there's brain drain everywhere now. And guys are moving to the US, taking IT courses, going to the US, going to the United Kingdom, going to Europe to make use of these skills because they know that with these skills in Nigeria, you'll be useless.
Completely useless.
So we need leaders. That's the question I said. We should be dealing with issues. Ask them. Now, I'm surprised that we're still discussing about protecting pipeline.
Yes.
We're still spending money recruiting people. You see these guys, I was thinking by now, my thoughts, by now, the likes of the Tompolo, the Asari, I think by now they should have gone into extinction. Because nobody should remember them again, because we would have moved from, there's a way you can make, when a man that fee is very important, like your landlord disturbing you, giving you stress. You just do the best to deal with that landlord is to just move from his area. You go and build your house close to his house, and you move from that, and go and occupy the next place. So you don't have a problem with him. So every morning when he's passing, because he has down house and you're on his upstairs, so you throw water from your this thing to his room. So we would have moved from the oil, and you allow those so-called Avengers guys, those guys that feel that oil is our mainstay, you allow them remain in the creek. You move from there to a digital economy. They become irrelevant. But today, I'm surprised we are still holding meetings with these guys to come and help us protect our gas pipeline. We are not ready as a nation.
We are not ready. So let's look at a country like, let's take a country like the United Arab Emirates. This is a country that is seated on top of billions upon billions upon billions of reserves of oil. But do you know that oil is not their
mainstay?
It's not their mainstay.
Of the economy, yeah. They don't even talk about it.
They don't talk about it. What they use, what the country is feeding on right now is tourism.
It's tourism.
Just tourism.
Yeah.
That's what, so even if oil dries up tomorrow, the country will still be sustainable. Now look at a recent report that I was reading. Nigeria, of 100% of our arable land, only 3% of our arable land in Nigeria is currently being cultivated. Just 3%. It means that we will continue to spend trillions of naira annually to import food to supplement the food that we have the energy to grow in Nigeria that we are not currently growing.
Which of the food? Is it agbado?
Well, you see, but at the later that you see, that's one of the issues we are facing.
Yeah.
Now we are spending hard-earned currency that we don't even have.
Yeah.
The dollar has completely destroyed the naira because we depend so much on the dollar in Nigeria for food imports, fuel imports, medicines imports, everything. And then our country is dependent on subsidies for everything. No country can completely depend on subsidy for everything that we are able to provide for its people.
But is there anything like subsidy? That's the topic we'll discuss another day.
Let me tell you that we are currently subsidizing medicines in Nigeria. That's fine.
Okay, I'm talking about,
we are subsidizing petrol.
Okay, that petrol
We are
subsidy.
subsidizing many of the foods that they import, they are being subsidized. Even sometimes the raw materials to some companies are subsidized.
Okay.
Then in the ports, there are some people that are giving waivers. Companies, businesses, religious people, the president just going to sign a waiver, which means they can bring in anything to the country and they won't pay duties. No country can continue to progress when you have this kind of inefficient system that protects the rich, that makes the rich to continue to get rich while the poor continue to get poorer. So we have to have a fair system, a system that works for everybody, a system that holds everybody accountable. We have to come back to say, okay, in the next 20 years, oil has to be relevant. Look at America today. You know, in California today, they've said that they will phase out all of the vehicles running on fuel in the next 15 years. And the economy of California is 10 times the economy of Nigeria. Just a city in America.
Maybe you don't understand this thing. Maybe I think I need to bring you up to speed with it. Nigeria, we have our plan. The plan we have as a nation, because our time is fast spent. The plan we have as a nation is that while California, they are going to phase out all the vehicle that uses fuel, our plan is that they are going to bring those vehicles to us, to Nigeria.
And we sell and use as cucumber.
Yes. I describe Nigeria, like I said, Nigeria is a joke. And we can only hope. But hope is not a strategy. We can only hope for better days for us as a nation. But sitting down as a Nigerian, thinking that 2023 will come, and we'll have a Messiah that will come and change the fortune of our nation. Yes, I would have believed that's possible, but with what I'm seeing now, it will be difficult for us to continue like this, have an election like this, have a leader, and still hold that leader accountable. Why? Because we have not asked the right questions that we need to ask. We need to let them, it's time for them to sit down. They should not be doing this, their massive campaign, to compare crowd and crowd. They should just publish their manifesto and begin to do town hall meetings. They don't need to come in person. They have world leaders. They should be organizing town hall meetings. Let's ask questions and say, what are you going to do? How are you going to take
What's your plan for Nigeria?
What is your plan for us as a nation? If not, the truth is, on that day, I might not go out to vote.
Okay, unfortunately, that's where we're going to end this conversation for today. Please do well to follow our page. And we are, like I said last week, we are open to sponsorship. If you want to keep on seeing our videos, please bring your business, bring whatever you do, so that we can advertise your business. We can make you very popular. We can make your business popular.
And for politicians too.
Yes.
Yes. It's time you bring your campaign jingles. And please, the truth is, even if you don't have a jingle, you can actually contact us, info@TSLNIGERIA.tv. Yes, send us a mail, info@TSLNIGERIA.tv, and we'll help you do a campaign jingle that will actually make sense.
Okay. So our time is up for today. And like we always say, like us on Facebook, on YouTube, follow, click on the notification button so that whenever we post our videos, you'll be the first to see it. We'll be back here again.
And share it.
Yes, please don't forget. That's very important.
Share.
We'll be back here again on Wednesday. Please stay safe.